Hi everyone, welcome to our Humane at Home wildlife series. We are going to have a very exciting episode for you today, and we're super excited for you all to be joining us today. My name is Carly Padilla, and I am the Wildlife Education Specialist for Project Wildlife. And today I am joined by one of our amazing volunteers, Cindy Myers, who has been doing bat rehabilitation and education for over 18 years. But before we dive into the batty world of bats, I wanted to mention our Furball event. Usually at this time of year, our organization hosts its annual Furball fundraiser, where hundreds of human and canine guests dressed in their best come out and help fundraise for the animals in SDHS's care. Now, while we are saddened we can't do an in-person gala this year, the true magic of Furball is your generosity for animals and the life-saving difference it makes. So please consider visiting sdhumane.org/furball to donate and to view the amazing auction items, which include one is going on a wildlife release, and there is another one where you can be a wildlife rehabilitator for a day. You really don't want to miss out on those amazing opportunities. Now, if you donate now through tomorrow, October 3rd, your gift will be doubled. So thanks to generous donors, all donations will be matched up to $225,000. Now, we are still about $42,000 away from meeting this match, so every dollar counts. Now, we'll post a link to the website in the comment section, so don't forget to go and visit that site. Now, let's get started talking and learning about bats. I am going to introduce Cindy Myers. She's here with me today, and she is going to introduce to us a little bit about bat information and about bats. Now, Cindy, if you want to go ahead and start sharing your screen, I'm just going to do a little information about how Cindy is able to do bat rehabilitation and education. She is under the permits of Project Wildlife, and we are a highly regulated and permitted organization. And due to those permits, that is what allows Cindy to be able to do this type of rehabilitation and education. If you're interested and you get really excited about bats after this program, please consider reaching out to your local rehabilitator. And all rehabilitators that I know love their volunteers. It may be a little tricky right now due to COVID, but always go ahead and let them know that you're interested. So Cindy, without any further ado, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, thanks, Carly. Hi, everyone. We'll start off with just a brief introduction to bats. Bats are really...
Sorry, what? Cindy, 1 second. There we go. There we go. You're okay. All good.
So bats are unique in the mammalian world. The Latin order for bats, Chiroptera, means hand wing. So all bats have a thumb and 4 fingers, just like humans do. They just have longer finger bones and longer arm bones. And then they have that extra flap of skin between each finger that is their flight membrane. And that's how bats are able to fly. They fly with their fingers. So bats are the only mammals that are capable of powered flight. The flying squirrels and the sugar gliders, they're just bat wannabes. They can't really fly. They can glide, but they're gradually going to fall downward. And bats can just propel themselves through the air for hours and hours on end. Now, the order bats, Chiroptera, is divided into 2 suborders. You got the megabats, which are the big flying foxes. And those are the ones that people are more familiar with, I think, because they're so much bigger than our little microbats. Here in the Americas, we only have the microbats. And in the US, most of our bats are average sizes, about the size of your ear when their long fingers are folded up. And the megabats can see in color. Their vision is just about as good as human vision. And the microbats, they just see in black and white. Now, worldwide, there are over 1,400 species of bats because there's about 5,400 species of mammals in the world, and almost a quarter of those mammal species are bats. So they're very diverse, and about 70% of the world's bat species eat insects and bugs and arthropods like scorpions and that sort of thing. And then we've got about 260 species of fruit bats around the world. We don't have any fruit bats here in the United States, except for one species, that, the Jamaican fruit bat that's just found in the Florida Keys. There's 50 species of nectar bats found around the world. And here in the desert southwest of the US, we have 3 species of nectar bats. And one of those is found in San Diego County pretty regularly, the Mexican long-tongued bat. And then there's one rare species that I think it's only one record of those from Oceanside. And there's 9 species of meat-eating bats around the world. Now, they don't eat hamburgers or, T-bone steaks. That means that they eat like smaller species of bats. They'll even catch birds sometimes. They'll eat frogs. Different species eat lizards. And we don't have any meat-eating bats here in the US, really. There's 5 species of fishing bats found around the world. We don't have any fishing bats here in the US. And then I guess I have to talk about this. There are 3 species of bats in the whole world that eat blood for a living. And only one of those eats mammal blood. And they'll eat about a teaspoon or 2 at a time from a sleeping cow or reindeer or a large mammal in the rainforest. And they are not found in the United States. Those vampire bats are only, the common vampire is only found in southern Mexico, Central America, and South America. They are not found in the United States, no matter what you see at Halloween. Now, bats have been around for a very long time. There's a fossil of bats that was found in Wyoming in a shale formation, and that was one of the oldest complete bat fossils. And it's believed that bats have been around in their current form for about 50 million years. Now, where do bats live? Most of our bats locally, they try and hide in the daytime. They're small, and so they're shy because they could be easily eaten by like a raven or a crow or a hawk if somebody like a big bird like that sees them out in the daytime. But we also have 3 species of bats here in Southern California that live in the leaves of trees, like this beautiful hoary bat in the picture here. Their fur is colored to help look like a drying tree leaf. And so they'll just hang by 1 foot in the trees and sleep during the daytime. And their fur coloration helps disguise them from predators like hawks. We have Western red bats and Western yellow bats, and those are beautiful bats. The yellows live primarily beneath those dried palm fronds that form around the tall Mexican fan palms and the California fan palms. Those dried frond skirts are natural bat houses for our yellow bats and probably at least a dozen other local bat species. So think of those dried palm fronds as bat houses. Now, how do bats see at night? When the sun goes down, there's no light, so they have to be able to see when they're flying around and trying to chase insects. So they don't have glasses. Like Carly said, I've been in this as a volunteer for more than 18 years, and I've never met a bat that had to wear glasses. So these are cute, but not real. So bats are able to see using sound. They'll fly around in the darkness, and they're sending sound waves out, usually high frequency sound that is too high for human ears to hear. It's even too high a frequency for your dogs to hear with most species. And the sound waves will bounce off their prey that they're chasing around. And then then the waves bounce back to their ears. And that's how they're able to locate their prey in complete darkness, or to navigate out of the deepest, darkest caves when they're going out to hunt at night. And that is called echolocation. So they locate their prey and they navigate using the echoes. So we have to talk about rabies, of course, because in the United States, there are 5 species of wildlife that are most susceptible to rabies. And those are raccoons, skunks, bats, foxes, and coyotes. But any mammal is susceptible to rabies. So the main thing that we want to educate people about is if you ever find an injured bat or any other mammal on the ground, never rescue any wild mammal with your bare hands. I am vaccinated for rabies, like you take your dog or your cat in to get vaccinated for rabies, but I still never pick up any wild mammal or even the tiniest little baby bat. You just never should handle them with your bare hands. Safety first, that's what we always teach. So now if you guys are out and hiking or at a park or down at the corner on the street and you find an injured bat on the ground, if you guys are kids, you go get an adult. Go get your mom or your dad or a teacher or any adult, and you make sure that they don't touch the bat with their bare hands. And if you're here in San Diego, you can use leather gloves. They could use some safe means to get the bat. They can contact Animal Services or Humane Law Enforcement through San Diego Humane Society, and an officer can come out and help rescue the bat safely. So sometimes people ask me, well, why do you want to work with bats? Why do we want to save bats? Well, bats are super important to ecosystems. There's a single bat can catch and eat more than 1,000 mosquito-sized insects per hour. So bats are they're the primary predators of flying insects around the world at night. And there's this one big bat cave in Texas. They've got 20 to 30 million Mexican free-tailed bats in this one cave. And the scientists estimate that those bats eat up to 200 tons of insects per night every summer. So bats are really important to U.S. agriculture and to farmers all around the world. So here's just a quick list of some of the insects and other pests that are eaten by bats, like mosquitoes. Nobody likes mosquitoes unless you're a bat. Cockroaches. Bats eat all kinds of these pesky insects. There's even a bat species here in San Diego that loves to eat scorpions. And the cool thing about those pallid bats, is what they're called, is that they're immune to scorpion venom. So if they get stung by a scorpion, it doesn't even faze them. They just eat the whole scorpion, but they do litter. They throw the claws on the ground. Apparently they don't like to eat scorpion claws. So here's some of the plants that are pollinated by bats. You guys probably like mangoes. You probably like almonds in your trail mix. Anybody has chewing gum, the chicle tree, the trees are originally pollinated by bats. Peaches, the tequila agave plant. So if you're having if you're having a margarita on Cinco de Mayo, you should thank a bat because the tequila agaves were originally pollinated by bats. Bananas, there are all kinds of important plants around the rainforest that are pollinated by bats. Bats are actually, they're basically natural farmers and they help regrow rainforests all around the world. And here's a quick list of some of the desert and rainforest seeds that are dispersed by the fruit-eating bats. As I said, there's about 260 species of fruit-eating bats around the world. And when those bats are eating the fruit, they process the food pretty quickly. And when they're flying across clear-cut areas of the tropical rainforest or across our deserts, they poop out the seeds. So the seeds are deposited in a little pile of fertilizer, basically. And so a lot of important plants like the big cactus in the desert Southwest, the saguaro and cardone, and a lot of those tall cacti are pollinated by bats and the seeds are dispersed by bats. Avocados, mangoes, papayas, lots of figs, the seeds are dispersed by bats. So bats are really important just for a lot of human crops and just for a lot of ecosystems. So I'm going to talk about some of the bats that we're going to meet in just a couple of minutes. So one of the most common species here in San Diego County are the Humane, and they're tiny, fluffy little things. They're not much bigger than a cotton ball. And this is a photo of Tracy. She's one of our education ambassadors. And she was rescued by some biologists who happened to be doing a field survey of her maternity site when she was a youngster. And so you're going to meet her in just a few minutes. She's probably sleeping right now. We'll see if she'll have a midnight snack in a few minutes. This is one of the bat species that wakes up earliest right at dusk. And if you're ever near a water source, like a lake or a pond, and you see small bats flitting across the surface of the water, snagging insects, it's probably a Humane grabbing emerging aquatic insects like mosquitoes and other pests like that. So California myotis are one of our smaller bat species. It's probably one of the smallest bat species in the United States. This is a photo of one of our bat ambassadors. His name is James, and he's a California Myotis. And that is my thumb, just for scale. When he first came in, he was just this teeny orphan little baby. We don't know what happened to his mother. He was found on the ground and rescued safely by somebody who used, leather gloves to rescue him safely. And when he came in, he weighed a little bit more than a dollar bill. He was just over a gram when he came in. I'll have to get an adult picture of him. And here he is. Here's a side photo of him when he came in. Now, James had to stay with us because his forearms didn't grow out all the way for some reason. And this is another one of the most common species in San Diego County. This is a photo of a big brown bat. And the big brown bats are beetle specialists. They, you see these big sharp teeth here. They eat crunchy insects for a living. So they've got pretty sharp teeth. All bats have pretty sharp teeth. And they've got this long fluffy fur. Big brown bats are really interesting because they're true hibernators. And when they're hibernating in the middle of winter, they can lower their heart rate to like 10 beats a minute. And then when they're flying, their heart rate can go over 1,000 beats per minute. And they can hold their breath for up to 2 hours when they're in a deep hibernation in a cold cave. They're really cool bats. The problem with some of the big browns that we get into care is that the females can tend to pack on grams to tide them over for the winter. So Kelly, our ambassador, is on a little bit of a diet right now. So here's some of the ways that you guys can help bats. You can save their homes. Bats need creeks, lakes, and other natural habitat to hunt for insects at night. And they need safe places to sleep during the day, like bat houses or caves or things like that, little crevices. Some of our bats even it's believed that they hibernate in old ground squirrel burrows or kangaroo rat burrows. So other ways you can help are don't litter or pollute, and try not to use pesticides in your yard. You can don't trim those tall palm trees in the spring or summer, because if you trim them in the spring, there could be baby birds up there. There could be baby owls or baby kestrels or baby orioles. Or if you trim in the summer, there could be baby bats up there that can't fly away with their mothers if their fronds are cut down. Another way you can help bats is to keep house cats indoors to protect bats and birds and other wildlife, like lizards and horned toads and all kinds of things. House cats, they just like to catch things for fun, and that takes a terrible toll on our wildlife. You can protect bats from sticky traps and glue traps. We get in several bats each year that have been stuck on fly paper or glue traps. So if you have a problem with flies, like in a barn or something, and you want to hang up fly paper, you can just hang it in a little tube made of chicken wire. And that way you can catch the flies that are being a bother, but you're not going to accidentally catch swallows or bats or things like that. And we also get several times a year, we get in some pool rescued bats. So bats, their feet and their knees are on backwards from humans. So they can't perch on like the edge of a bird bath to get a drink of water. They have to be able to swoop across an open water source, like a lake or a pond or a swimming pool, to get a drink of water. So bats use our swimming pools here as a water source a lot. So if you have a swimming pool where you're getting critters stuck in the pool, you can get a frog log or two, depending on the size of your pool. And it's just a little flotation ramp that floats on the side of your pool, and it fastens. There's a little mesh ramp, and it fastens to the deck with a little bag that you fill with pea, sand, or gravel. And that way critters up to 1 pound can self-rescue if they get stuck in your swimming pool. And here's another way that you can help. You can help the San Diego Humane Society Project Wildlife Bat Team. You can help buy mealworms, because bats eat a lot of mealworms. And so you can all of their donations go to help support our animal ambassadors, as well as all the, 10, 12,000 wild animals a year that we save, right, Carly?
Yep.
And one of the main ways that humans and you kids can help bats is to learn more about bats and teach other people about bats. So a lot of people have a lot of terrible misconceptions about our bats, and they don't understand how cool and interesting and how super important they are to ecosystems around the world. So you can be a bat advocate like I am. You can learn about bats. If you have to do a school report on a cool animal that you like, pick an interesting bat species like the sucker-footed bats or the Honduran white bats or any of the other tent-making bat species. Or you could do a report on pallid bats and how they deal with catching scorpions. Or you could do a report on spotted bats. So you can help educate your classmates and educate your teachers and educate your family too. So those are some of the best ways that you guys can help bats. So I think I'm ready to introduce one of our bats. Let's see. We're gonna go. Have we gotten any questions, Carly?
No, but we have some people saying that Cindy's an amazing bat volunteer, and we're so lucky to have her, and how much they love bats and how tiny they are.
No, I'm trying to hold on.
All right, Cindy, we're gonna put you straight back on.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so up here we have, this is Tracy. On the right, you can see her lighter fur. She's kind of blonde, and that's James. And it's the middle of the night, so they're kind of been rested out of their sleep. And that's Tracy. She's the Humane. Now Tracy was the one that was when the biologists were there doing her cave survey of this maternity site. She all the other juveniles in that cave were fluttering around and flying. They were just learning to fly, and they were going around and practicing. And little Tracy wasn't able to do that. She was just fluttering a couple of feet off the floor of the cave and couldn't really get any elevation, and she couldn't stay airborne. And so the biologist, this is a really lucky bat. She happened to be rescued by a couple of amazing bat biologists. They got her with gloves, of course, although they're also vaccinated for rabies. And they did a quick exam, and they could see that her wings, for some reason, her finger bones never grew out all the way. So we suspect that it was metabolic bone disease. Maybe her mother wasn't able to catch enough insects to provide enough milk when she was nursing. And so we don't really know what happened or why she had these nutritional deficiencies when she was a youngster. But she was still young and still growing, and so we tried to supplement her with additional calcium and nutrients, but it wasn't enough. Her finger bones straightened out a little bit, but they never did grow out all the way. So she stays with us now as an education ambassador, and once in a while she'll come over and get something to eat in the middle of the day. And then over here is James. James here.
So we do have one question, Cindy, or we have two now. How long do bats live?
Well, that's one of the coolest questions. Bats are the longest living mammal on Earth relative to their size. Most small mammals lead really short lives, but reproduce really quickly. Well, bats apparently have not read any of that scientific literature because they lead really long lives and they reproduce super slowly. The current world record holder for bat longevity is 41 years old.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, they're just amazing little critters. Now, even though they lead really long lives, as I said, they reproduce super slowly. Most mother bats only give birth to one baby per year.
That was another question came in, is that do bats typically like to live with other bats?
Well, there's over 1,400 species of bats in the world. And so some bats are solitary, while other bats are colonial species, and they prefer to live in large groups with other friends and family bats. Like the Mexican free-tail bats are probably the most gregarious mammal species on Earth. I mean, they live in a colony of 20 million other bats. So, but most of our bats here in Southern California are colonial, which means that they will form little colonies of bats. And especially in the summertime, even our more solitary species, like our little tiny canyon bats, they, even in the summertime, the canyon bats, although they're solitary most of the year, they will form small maternity colonies in the summertime where the females all get together in a little group of maybe 6 or 7 gals, and then each female will give birth to her 1 or 2 pups that summer. The canyon bats are one of the exceptions to the slow reproductive rule. Most canyon bat moms tend to give birth to 1 set of twins each summer.
What's the gestation period?
It depends on the bat species, but I believe it's about 8 weeks at the most, depending on the species. What are you doing down there? You're gonna go get something to eat? Go up there. She's gonna go hang out with Jane. All right, well, let me see if I can talk Kelly into having a midnight snack for us. Hold on just a sec.
And again, guys, for anyone who's joining us, who's just jumping on to our segment, you're seeing a few education ambassadors from Project Wildlife. Although they are super cute, we are a highly permitted and regulated organization and hold quite a few permits in order to have these animals as education ambassadors. And so while we are super lucky that we have them, if anyone ever comes across a sick, injured, or orphaned animal, especially when it comes to bats, like Cindy had mentioned, always get an adult, always use protection, never grab a bat with your bare hands, and try to find a local rehabilitator or animal control specialist that they can help you with that issue.
Let's see, I've got Kelly out here. Let's see if we can talk Kelly into having a snack. Hold on a sec. Switch to the other bat cam. Well, okay, there's Kelly's toes. So that's Kelly. She's the big brown bat. Now, Kelly has been with us since 2017. She was rescued by a homeowner who found her laying on the ground outside, and apparently, we don't know if she fell or got knocked from a roost when she was cold. When bats are cold and their muscles are cold, they can't fly away. So it was early spring, and it was probably pretty cool weather. I think she came in April of 2017. And she couldn't, when she fell out of her roost, her muscles were cold, and so she couldn't spread her wings and fly away or break her fall. And both of her wrists were pretty badly injured. So one of her wrists is still a little more swollen. And because of that injury, she is not able to extend her right wing all the way. Are you going to have that? Just no. Maybe. We want to offer her a reward. Whenever I wake her up in the middle of the night, I always offer her a midnight snack. Can you see her okay?
Looks like it, yes. I can see her okay, but it looks like our feed might be coming in and out a little bit. Oh, she's so cute.
I always tell people, if you're going to wake me up in the middle of the night, you better bring cheesecake. Sure. He's gotten a little fluffier as she's putting on grams for the fall.
I think we all can feel that from COVID. We all might be in that same realm.
We're
Well,
getting,
again,
getting a little fluffier.
yes. Well, everyone, we really appreciate you joining us today, learning about all about bats. If anyone wants to join us tomorrow, we are having our Wake Up with Wildlife talk with Cindy again. It's going to be a little bit longer, a little bit more involved. So feel free to go to that website again, sdhumane.org, and click on our community programs, and then our wildlife outreach and education tile. And that's where you can find the way to sign up for Wake Up with Wildlife tomorrow. But again, tomorrow is Furball as well. So check out those auction items, sdhumane.org/furball. Don't miss out on that wildlife release auction item and the wildlife rehabilitator for a day auction item. So those will be super special. And again, there's a ton of other amazing auction items on that site as well. Help us reach that goal, the $225,000 goal, because it'll be completely matched by some amazing donors that we have. But I'm trying to check. Two questions. Do they also eat superworms, and how many teeth do they have?
I don't know how many teeth they have, and it may depend on the species. They different species have different dentition. So honestly, I don't know. And they do eat superworms. It depends on the species. So some of our little bitty species, like we happen to have the smallest bat species in North America here, called the canyon bats, and they only weigh about as much as a Hershey's Kiss. And if you try and feed a superworm to a canyon bat, you're going to end up with an injured canyon bat, or a canyon bat who has a mealworm phobia after that, because the bigger worms can give a pretty good nip. So I would think that one of our bigger species, like the big browns or pallid bat in Cara, we could probably feed them superworms, but not the smaller species. The tiny little canyon bats or the California myotis, we tend to give them just small or mini mealworms.
Well, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful Friday, and join us next week again for our next Humane at Home segment, Fridays at 4 p.m. Always come to the Humane Society Facebook page. And thank you, everyone. Enjoy, and everyone say bye to our beautiful, our big brown.
Good night, Kelly.
Bye, Kath. Thanks, everyone.